the capital of the Empire State, Albany Broadcasting Company's Public Affairs Department brings you news, views, and interviews. Here are your hosts, Nell Stokes-Holmes and Joe Condon.
Thank you, Double D, Diane Donato. It is Sunday, April 27th, 1997. Man, it's the end of the month.
Yeah, where's the time going?
I don't know. What do you got planned for May? Tulip Festival?
And Mother's Day.
You're going to be tiptoeing through the tulips in Washington Park?
Yeah, you know it. You know it.
I know one thing. You always have our tulip queen on every year, so...
yeah, and I'll have her back, whomever she is.
Well, on this Sunday morning, we have a very interesting show. Why don't you introduce our guest?
Yeah, we have with us, with pictures and everything, Reverend Perry Jones. He's Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, and he's been here before, too. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, tell us about what's going on down at the rescue mission. I know, I wish our listeners could just see what we see. There's a huge array of photographs here of some of the people that you've helped and some of the things that you'd like to do with the rescue mission in the future. So tell us about it.
Well, right now the mission is very full, and we've been very busy, especially this past year, our busiest year on record, really, for the city mission. And every day, day in, day out, doing the things that we normally do and trying to plan for new things. And we're excited about the fact that many people are being helped by city mission.
Are you down by the Pepsi Arena?
Yes, we're between the bus stations and the arena.
Are you the mission that some people have said that shouldn't be near the Pepsi Arena?
Well, maybe. I think some people may have had that opinion. We've been there in that spot since 1953, and we have been trying to relocate, and we're dealing with a lot of difficulty in relocation, though that's hopefully coming to a closure, and we're going to be able to relocate hopefully soon.
It would seem that your grandfathered into that location, and you were there before anyone else moved in.
Absolutely.
Economic renewal is happening, around us. And though for the last several years it seems to have been on hold, but we're in hopes that we're at the end of a relocation bid. Our plans are before the Albany Planning Board, and we're hoping for a positive vote on their part in the next few weeks. And so,
Where do you plan on? Go ahead.
That relocation is going to be anywhere near where you are now?
Our relocation desire and plan is before them for the teleservice location, 259 South Pearl, which is across the street from the present motor vehicles on Pearl Street.
Okay.
It's a furniture store and a TV repair shop, and it's part of a block, and it's right next to Division 2 headquarters.
Is teleservice still open?
Well, he's open presently, but he is hoping to go out of business soon and retire.
Wow, that's a Capital District institution.
I know. It's been there for at least 50 years.
When Brother Ivy used to be on the show, teleservice was one of his
sponsors.
One of his sponsors.
Yeah.
I think he worked there too.
Yeah. Weren't they one of Art Mitchell's sponsors too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, when Kathy and I got married, we bought some of our furniture from Brother Ivy down there.
Oh, wow. See, well, they have a root in the community here.
Yeah, Lou Grody is the owner, and he is very much interested in retirement, and he also is his business is falling off, and he hasn't been able to generate the type of revenue needed to stay at that location.
Oh, that's too bad.
So would you just refurbish the building, or would you tear it down and build a new one?
We would literally take the building down toward its girders and redo it. There's a $2 million restoration project on the boards before the planning board of the city of Albany.
I guess because of the business last summer when it was very hot, we ran down there, and it was the only one that had air conditioners, and the building seemed to be in pretty good shape when my wife and I were there.
Yeah, it's not in too bad a shape, except for the fact that it's 30 years old. So all of the structure and all of the heating and air conditioning electrical supplies are all 30 years old. The roof is 30 years old, so you really can't start to build a new, a really good facility off of a 30-year-old building like that. You just have to strip it down some and go forth.
And when the plans are approved, and you notice I said when they are approved, how soon will you be able to start building the building?
He will be in liquidation for a couple months, and so it'll probably be this fall.
Mm-hmm.
And actually maybe a little sooner, but probably, the majority of it will be this fall, and hopefully this time next year we'd be looking to move in and start our operation there. I mean, it hasn't been, it's had hearings. It's not been without its controversy, and so.
Mm-hmm. That building is much, much larger. That space is much larger than where you are now. Would you be adding some new services in there for the people that you serve?
We probably would be just improving and enlarging the existing programs that we have, in the sense that we're like a one-room schoolhouse on Hudson Avenue where we are right now. The dining room is a dormitory, the dining room is a dining room, the dining room is a lounge, the dining room is, a chapel, the dining room, serves 24 hours a day. So a lot of our rooms would start serving like most people use rooms, once a day for this function, once a day for that function.
I see.
Well, you're making maximum use of your assets.
I know.
If you came to the city mission, no space goes unused, and no space is not used during the day at some point.
Sunday morning, you're listening to News, Views, and Interviews on WROW. I'm Joe Condon, along with Nell Stokes-Holmes. And our guest is the Reverend Perry Jones, Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany. And you're right, I have always been addressing Nell, N-E-L, in any correspondence, and she said, I put double L down here all the time.
Yeah, because that's my name.
You've
N-E-L-L.
been one L Nell all these years, and now you're two L Nell.
And now you've noticed, and I really appreciate that. We're talking to Perry Jones this morning about the Capital City Rescue Mission, and we're just going to go back and talk about a little history of the mission. I know that there's a service history. You have a mission statement, and you want to tell us what that mission statement is, and talk a little bit about your service history.
Okay, back in 1949, the rescue mission was started by a man named William Lang, who owned a pharmacy. Lang's Pharmacy was in Albany for a long time. Mr. Lang and a bunch of businessmen decided that there needed to be a rescue mission for those who were homeless and needy at that time that were walking the streets of Albany. Also, though, from a Christian perspective, to advance the cause of the Christian gospel. And so that was a priority, and so they started a soup kitchen and rescue mission evening service program. And then it mushroomed into a bigger building, and then they started sleeping and feeding more people, and they started to not only just do the one-night gospel meeting every night, but we started doing other daytime programs. Mm-hmm. And at this time, we're even trying to do things different, in the sense we still have our anchor program in the gospel meeting at night for a half hour. Each churches come in and do that, but we do a lot of things now with education and medical and other types of programs for addiction recovery that maybe weren't being done back in those days. We have a rescue mission that is typical of many rescue missions in New York State. Plus the fact that in New York State, rescue missions got their start in 1872. In fact, the first rescue mission in the United States that's still in existence is in Manhattan, Macaulay Water Street Mission. So we follow suit, and about every city in New York State has a rescue mission.
How long have you been with the rescue mission, Perry?
This Saturday was my 15th year.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
And,
it's been a
and
long
each
time.
year has brought about some tremendous change, I know.
Yeah, things have been changed. I mean, we would have been in a new facility. We would have been in a different location at this point, but we've been fighting a zoning battle with the zoning board in Albany for a while, and we've been fighting relocation because of not in my backyard, and it's been many years doing that. And finally, the New York State Supreme Court this past January ruled in favor of the mission for zoning, that we fit the central business district of the city of Albany as a house of worship and as a charitable religious organization. Before that, they were trying to classify us as a boarding house, which doesn't fit in the inner city. And so at this point, we come with a greater opportunity before the courts to go into the city.
Do we need a break now?
Oh, I've got about a minute.
Okay. Um, Compared to 15 years ago when you started, what's the general population like that comes to the mission?
Even when I began in 1982 till now, the population is younger.
Mhm.
So we're seeing younger people at the city mission. I mean, the average age of homeless people is about 31. And so we're following suit with about that. Used to be the old days, the antique days when the city mission started, dealing with indigent alcoholics who were, in their 50s and 60s, and that's no longer the case. And also, I brought some pictures here to show you of some of the people that are coming for our holiday meal programs. There's a lot of children, mothers and
A
children
lot of
coming
children, yeah.
for our city mission programs for, mothers and children.
Mhm.
So, I mean, across the United States, 30% of the homeless today, which they estimate somewhere around 600,000, are women and children.
Mhm.
So we're finding that more and more services need to be offered for them. And that's a big change, what the homeless complexion was some decades ago.
Sunday morning, you're listening to News, Views, and Interviews on WROW. I'm Joe Condon, along with Double L, Nell Stokes Holmes. And our guest this week is the Reverend Perry Jones, the Executive Director, Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany, New York. How can you know someone for years and misspell their first name?
Well, especially when it's only got 4 letters.
I know. Tune in tomorrow and we'll let you know how. We'll be back in a moment. Sunday morning, welcome back to News, Views, and Interviews on WROW. I'm Joe Condon, along with Nell Stokes Holmes. And our guest this week is the Reverend Perry Jones. He's the Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission at 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany, right down there by the Pepsi Arena.
And we're doing the break. We're looking at some pictures that Perry brought us to see, and it shows the learning center. They have a learning center in the rescue mission, as well as a dental clinic. You want to tell us about that and how that got started and what kind of progress you're having with those two activities?
We found that 60% of the people coming as homeless or needy people coming to the mission had no either high school diploma or general equivalency diploma or GED. So we decided we needed to provide a learning center for them, that we would provide individualized instruction through a curriculum that other rescue missions across the United States have. So we started the Learning Center, and it's becoming very fruitful in the lives of many people. 3 of our men graduated with their GED just this past 2 months. Now they prepare for the GED, and then of course the state offers it at one of the sites in Albany.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to pass a rigorous test, and so that's been something good. And sometimes men come to us and women come in our program as well, and they're apt to come to the school as well. We have beginning literacy high school program. We have the post-high school with writing and computer training and some other electives. And then Dr. Bowler, who is the vice president for operations, I think, for St. Peter's Hospital, helped us to start a medical clinic a few years ago, and he himself mans it. He comes on every Wednesday and sees just a large group of people, and every Wednesday he's there and people come back to see him. It's a very much like a rescue mission clinic program. He does acute care, and he sees people, and if they have a problem, he refers them on. But they don't have to pay for it. We don't have to pay for it. St. Peter's Hospital is kind of partnering with us, but especially Dr. Bowler, very, very fantastic doctor.
Is this for males and females?
Yes. Anybody that comes through Dr. Bowler will see them in the clinic room. One of the problems is that the clinic room is too small. I mean, it's not unlike a very small bedroom. So, he basically, a doctor and a patient can be in there, and that's it. In our new facility, that hopefully will change soon.
What are some of the other activities? I know that there are some people from my church. I'm a member of Bethany Baptist Church.
Very good church.
And there are a couple of ministers from my church that come, and some of our members as well, to do a special service there every other month or something like that.
Pastor Headley.
Yes, my pastor. And
Very-
Minister Williams and Reverend Wilson, because he just became a reverend, so I'm getting used to calling him reverend. They've been there to do services. Do you have services on a regular basis? I know that one of the things that you told me before when you were here, that before dinner, there's always a service.
A gospel meeting at night. We hold them from 6 to 6:30. Churches like yours, and I praise the Lord for Pastor Headley and Brother Williams and many of the people from your church, because they come and do the service twice a month, and then they also help to serve the meal and do other things. So, and churches of every Christian stripe and variety come and do that half-hour program, and it's a mainstay of the rescue mission movement across the United States. Any typical rescue mission will have an evening service, just like back in 1872 when Jerry McCauley started the rescue mission in Manhattan. And it's a time where the poor and the needy, those who don't find themselves usually in the traditional church, can have spiritual refreshment and counsel and strength and encouragement in the Christian faith. And we seek to invite them to trust the Lord Jesus Christ as their Savior and turn to Him. Now, that's certainly not a requirement, but it's there for them to experience if that's what they would like. And churches as like Bethany and many others are, an intricate part of what we do. And more churches are coming to do that.
You serve 3 meals a day there?
Yeah, we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All 3 meals are always open to the community as well, 365 days a year. A week.
That's a long week,
That would
Perry.
be a long week. Very long. Yeah. So it's constant. 90,000 meals last year served to the homeless and needy of the capital city.
Now, during those meals, can anyone? You said it's open to the community, but do people know this and do they just walk in?
They walk in. We have about 40% of the people that actually eat there don't live at the mission.
Okay.
They come from the surrounding community, and they tell their friends. And then, like, we had 500 meals served at Easter, and we had 980 or so meals served at Christmas, and about 800 served at Thanksgiving. Now, those are all people from the general vicinity of the mission or different neighborhoods, and they come.
Got a question. Nell and I are strolling down Hudson Avenue, and we go, gee, we're hungry. Let's go in and have lunch. How do you handle that?
Well, depending on the time of day, there's always a bag lunch program. If you come in and you need a bag lunch.
My point is, we obviously don't need your services.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
That's true.
you'd be kind anyway.
Yes, they would. A lot of times people will come to us. Maybe they've been found by some social service agency and they're in need of a meal on the spot. Or, even recently, the bus station called and said it was during that last snowstorm that we just had, and there were a bunch of people that had been stranded at Greyhound Station all night because they couldn't travel. So they asked if we had any lunches. So immediately, because we had the lunches made up, we sent over 50 bag lunches.
Wow, that was nice.
Because they were in the terminal and had nothing to eat.
You're listening to News, Views, and Interviews on WROW. I'm Joe Condon, along with Nell Stokes Holmes. Our guest is the Reverend Perry Jones, the Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany, New York. Are you originally from the Capital Region?
Yes, I grew up in Queens Hollow, New York. Was born at the Albany Hospital, grew up in Queens Hollow, went to the Ravenna High School system and graduated from there. Then went on to Bible college and seminary, but then came back.
Where'd you go to Bible college?
I went to college in Dunedin, Florida, which was, I guess you could say, Clearwater, Florida. They're now in Newport Richey. Then I went to a seminary out in Winona Lake, Indiana, Warsaw, near Fort Wayne, and that was the Grace Brethren Church Denominational Seminary.
Okay. You went to school in Florida. There are needy people in Florida. What brought you back to this climate?
He could have been serving meals in the sun.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Seriously.
Well, I was in Indiana, and I had finished seminary, and I had taken a 4-year degree, and I had taken theology and 4 years of Greek and 4 years of Hebrew, and I thought, Lord, I want to serve you full time. When I came back here to my home area, my pastor said, the mission needs a director. Would you be willing to go there? And I thought, well, yeah, I'll go down. And so I really kind of got into it, unknowing what I was really going into. But the Lord was in it, and we've been there 15 years.
Do you have children?
Yes.
I
My
know you
wife
have a beautiful
Susan
wife.
is here with us today, and
Yeah.
then we have Andrew, who is 16, and Rachel, who is 13, and they're both great kids and busy at doing what teenagers do.
And how do they feel about your work?
Good stuff. Well,
How do they feel about your work, your kids?
they're very supportive.
Mhm.
My family is very supportive of what I do, which is very important, because
Mhm.
if they weren't, I'd be in trouble.
Hmm. Do they have they on occasion come down to assist in serving and helping out?
Actually, Andy was down there today volunteering, my son, helping me to put letters together on our new project. So as much as I can get them there, and hopefully with a new building, and trying to branch out into a women's shelter ministry, which is what we'd like to do sometime soon,
Mm-hmm.
to do that. They'll be even more involved.
But you do assist women now, though.
We
and-
assist
and
women,
some,
but
to
we
some
don't
degree.
we don't have a place for them to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's something that our board has made a commitment to start a women's facility with a distinct Christian message. You see, I mean, we don't take state funding, and we raised approximately $580,000 a year privately, because we don't take any state money, because we want to keep the gospel message, the Christian distinctive, very strong, and yet we know that there's trouble if you take state money and try to promote the gospel. There would be trouble. So we've decided that it just shouldn't be done. And so
And you manage pretty well without.
the Lord has provided all the needs that we have to not only run what we're doing presently, but also to go into this building project over at Teleservice, which is going to be.
Do you have any big fundraisers during the year?
We don't. What we do is we just do month-to-month fundraising through direct mail. So people are on our mailing list, and sometimes they like hearing from us often, and other times they want to hear from us less. But we have a system where we can allow people to about hear from us as frequently as they want to. But we do a lot of direct mail, because that's where.
And you must have found that direct mail is less costly than any other type of fundraising
Absolutely.
that you would do. How do you mobilize the people to get the mail out?
Oh,
I mean, you have to
right.
have folk in there stuffing envelopes and all that
Well,
stuff.
we do have some of that going on. We actually are using a rescue mission cooperative program right now that helps with some of that by doing a lot of all the rescue missions in a certain district. And so some of the costs are held down because of cooperative fundraising. But really, we've found that our fundraising costs are approximately 15%, which means that if you take our total income, and somebody says, how much of my dollar is going to the mission and how much is it going to fundraising, we would say approximately 15%, or 15 cents on your dollar, which is very good. I mean, it's probably on the low end of the spectrum as nonprofit corporations go.
Want to take a break now?
Time? Yeah.
Sunday morning, the final Sunday of April, 1997. Where's the year going? At least now we're heading to the nice weather.
Yeah.
News, views, and interviews. Nell Stokes Holmes and Joe Condon, and our guest this week, the Reverend Perry Jones, the Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany. And he is dedicated to this region because he went to school in Florida and came back to this climate. News, views, and interviews. I'm Joe Condon along with Nell Stokes Holmes. Sunday morning, we're heading for May, the big Tulip Festival in the city of Albany. And our guest is the Reverend Perry Jones, the Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany. They are located down by the Pepsi Arena. I guess that's the big geographic area reference point that you have. How do you enjoy your job?
Myself, I love working with, I've always seemed to have a patience for working with those who are unfortunate or in a great time of need. And so I enjoy bringing the gospel of Christ to them, and also acts of mercy. So it's been a rewarding job. One of the things that makes the job hard has been all of the trial of trying to get through zoning and get through planning and all of these different efforts that we've tried toward relocation. That makes it harder. The clients once in a while get to you more than, but more than that, it's this barrage of bureaucracy that we're going through, which it looks like we're at least through most of the way.
You see a light at the end of the tunnel. Huh?
Yeah.
15 years, that's very unusual for an individual to be in one job these days, especially. Do you have aspirations of moving on to other things, or are you kind of content?
I'm content here. I've had opportunity to go to other places, and every time I thought about that, the Lord kind of made it aware to me that He's not done yet here. He's got some things that I'm supposed to finish. So
This is your baby.
I said, well, we'll stay until He says move.
Snowballs and all, right?
Yeah, that part of it does get hard too, doesn't it? Yeah.
How many people does the Hudson Avenue site sleep in the evening?
Yeah. Approximately somewhere around 45 to 50, which makes it very crowded. We certainly know that building was never, meant for that type of use, but we try to, we're staff heavy in some ways, that we have enough staff to really supervise the program well, but it's again the opportunity that 30-some people, maybe up to 38 people, actually sleep on mats on the floor. They're not actually in beds. So, that makes me apprehensive. I mean, I just don't like to have people on the floor per se. Even though they're on mats, I prefer to have them in a bed. And we would if we had the building size, which is hopefully will happen.
Yeah, and you will in the future.
Gee, sometimes I'm watching TV on the floor in the afternoon, I fall right asleep.
Yeah, sleeping on the floor is fun.
It's better for your back sometimes.
Yeah. Last year, Jay Jochnowitz, who writes for the Times-Union,
Right.
He asked me if him and I could sleep there. So we both grabbed a mat one night and slept on the floor and with the fellas. And I thought, it wasn't that bad. It actually went pretty well. I mean, certainly you're not used to sleeping on such a small mat when you're sleeping in a bed, and it's a bit uncomfortable, but it was manageable, and it was fine, and it was good to do that, because I think that was the first time I'd actually slept on the floor with the men in 15 years. And Jay seemed to be fine about it. So.
Yeah, gave you a different perspective to look at it.
How was your
from,
back
too.
in the morning?
It was a little sore, but it was all right.
When how are the men chosen to sleep over?
Really, it's first come, first serve. You come to the door. We basically take an intake on you, see a form of identification, deal with you. If you're noticeably under the influence of something, then we do tests on you. We can do both alcohol and drug tests there. And then we find if you're over the limit alcohol-wise, then we take you up to the sobering up unit or see that you're transported there, which helps
That's
to
the police
hold.
department?
Yeah, the police department does transferring, but we also have the HAC van, which is the Homeless Action Committee van, which may not be running very much longer, I hear. But, we do some screening.
Sobering up unit, where is that at?
That's up at CDPC.
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's
See, I
really-
thought it was at the police station.
They really call it the Alcohol Crisis Receiving Center, or I'm not sure if I
Okay.
have all my titles down there. It changes. It used to be called Detox, which isn't really true because they
Politically
weren't really,
correct anymore.
Yeah, they weren't really detoxing people. It was more of a sobering up unit, and then they would, and maybe they did some detoxing. I don't want to say they didn't, but we try to use them to keep disruptions down. So if you have people who are intoxicated noticeably, we check them out on our breathalyzer, and then we say, hey, why don't you go up here and, they'll help you medically, and you'll be able to come back to us when you sober up a bit.
Now, do you have people that stay there on a regular basis, like 2 or 3 weeks, or?
Well, what we do
How
is you
long
say you
can a
can stay
person
for
stay?
25 days.
Oh, okay.
And so a fellow comes in, he can stay for 25 days, but he's not there during the day presently. And yet some of the fellows, up to 20, are on this 6-month program where they literally are in addiction recovery classes, they're in the school, they're in a work program. They're actually getting their lives back together and working on their life problems. And at that point, we have half the house broken down into each program at this point, and we need more room for both of those programs. But it does give people an opportunity for rehabilitation, not just what used to be called soup, soap, and salvation, which is just kind of get you in and get you out, but it really gives an opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Some of the questions I'm asking, I meant to ask the last time when you were here about a year ago, and we ran out of time, so I'm just sort of
Right.
catching up.
We have a lot of young people that come in, a young man whose life is in shambles because of cocaine. Cocaine is a scourge, not only in Albany, but many other cities. And, you know, their lives are upside down. They've made terrible decisions. And it literally takes several months to get cleared up and to get refocused, to start getting rid of some of the stuff that's there, refocusing either on the Lord or coming to know the Lord, and then getting their lives so that they can say, hey, I want to do this with my life. I want to do that with my life. I want to make some amends with some things that I was, you know, that I did wrong, or I want to reconcile it with my family. One of our fellas came to us last year, reconciled with his family just recently, and moved into the city of Albany in an apartment. But you know, that's what we're trying to do, with some long-term solutions to the problem of homelessness, so that, in a sense, we try to work ourselves out of a job, but it never seems to work out that way.
Sunday morning, you're listening to News, Views, and Interviews on WROW. Nell Stokes Holmes, Joe Condon, and our guest this week is the Reverend Perry Jones, the Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany. I don't want to get political here, but I remember back in the 80s, in the Reagan years, my wife and I loved to go to Baltimore, loved to go to Washington, and also enjoy going down to New York City, and when the trains used to go into Grand Central Station. And it was during that time period that we began to see the homeless on the streets. What happened?
I think it was a snowballing effect, and it did have a great deal to do with the economy, as far as we can tell, in everything that we've done. The fact that housing that was available in, like, single-room occupancy tenement buildings throughout the United States started to be torn down to get ready for urban renewal, but not replaced. The economy went up. Everything became very expensive real estate-wise, but jobs, the minimum wage didn't follow that. So you have all these people who couldn't afford a place to stay on the very bottom shelf of the economy. But all of a sudden you have more and more homeless people. Now we start seeing a kick all throughout this land for things called SROs, single room occupancy type places, where a person who's very poor, maybe 65% of the homeless are single, so very poor, and can just get just a room, basically, what we used to call the old rooming houses, and they're coming back. They're called SROs, but that whole economy kicked a lot of homelessness up. But again, it was good for a lot of people and not as good for other people.
Do you see that whole thing changing at this point in our lives?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it getting any better? Are there
I think
fewer
it's at least
homeless?
stabilizing at this point. And I'm not sure if there are fewer homeless. It's stabilizing until at least the welfare cuts recently. I'm not sure how that is going to happen, because actually it's increased this year. And is that increase going to be a trend? I don't know. It's increasing because of the welfare cuts,
and they don't really start in earnest until July 1st.
Right. Yeah, there's still going to be some fallout. So I'd have to say probably we're going to be more needed than ever before. But again, it'll be a little different. Now it's a difference of what's happening with welfare, not what's happening to the real estate market as in the 80s. So.
What's your staff like, Perry? How many people do you have to run the place?
We have 15 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff, and the full-time staff range from cooks, and we have people we only have 3 administrative staff and 3.5 administrative staff. Myself, my executive assistant, and then a development assistant who also does bookkeeping, and then a guy that does some part-time for us. But basically, everybody else is working with the clients, and there's supervisors and desk men and counselors. And
do your employees have benefits like health insurance and pension plan and
dental and medical, and we actually have a pension program after 3 years. So we really try to run a good personnel department for the sake of our employees. I mean, we want them to stay with us. We want them to build with us so that they can be a blessing to the people. So we try to build back into them.
Are any of the employees ever from the homeless population?
Yeah, out of those 15 full-time, I'd say about 6 or 7 came from the program and actually came from the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually, we'd have to say that some of them are real thrilled to be in the jobs that they're in.
Mm-hmm. What agencies that you work with, what type of a referral system do you have that assists these people in moving around in the different agencies in the community?
Mm-hmm. Well, Travelers Aid is the original agency that kind of directs everybody to where they're supposed to be going. Now, we do also take direct referrals for the homeless from all kinds of other agencies, but Travelers Aid acts as a central intake. They're not too far away from us. They're over at 3 City Square. And so they actually send people to us. But the police, the hospitals, the social service, and all of that, we actually are cooperating all throughout the city, the county, and we're thankful to be able to be a part of that.
And it's time for a break.
You read my mind. Sunday morning, news, views, and interviews on WROW. I'm Joe Condon, along with Nell Stokes Holmes, and our guest this week, the Reverend Perry Jones, the Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission at 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany. We'll be back in a moment. News, views, and interviews on WROW. I'm Joe Condon, along with Nell Stokes Holmes, who seems to have left the room. Oh, she's back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Our guest this week is the Reverend Perry Jones, the Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany, New York, down by the Pepsi Arena.
And we're talking about the Capital City Rescue Mission and all the programs and services that are offered to the people in need in the area, and also the new facility that's in the works for the Capital City Rescue Mission. You want to talk a little bit more about that and tell us, where it's going to be and what's going to be involved in putting it all together?
Yeah, we have a site at 259 South Pearl Street that we have proposed to put our new rescue mission. It is presently the teleservice business, which is TV and furniture, and they actually have been in there for many years. 30 years ago, they put that new building up. But then they've approached us several times and said, we know you're looking to start a new location. Would you buy our building? And so we've been talking with them for several years, and then finally we came to an agreement, went before zoning. We passed the zoning because of the Supreme Court in New York State, and then we finally got before planning now, which is the last hurdle. We're expecting an answer in early May to whether or not we can actually go forth, finish buying the building, and finish our architectural plans. We have enough architectural plans now before the planning board that they can tell us whether or not they think that they're going to allow the police would be very close neighbors. Division 2 headquarters for Albany Police is almost in the back door of this place.
Mm-hmm.
And Chief Tuffy, who is the police chief in Albany, has fully aware of what we're trying to do and is supporting it, and he knows who we are, and we certainly cooperate with Albany Police because they're a great workforce to work with, and we actually hope to be their neighbors soon.
You said you've been there for 15 years. That means you were there for part of Mayor Corning's administration, Mayor Whalen's administration, and now Mayor Jennings. What difference does it make with the different mayors? You've gone through 3 now. What impact do they have on your mission?
Well, with Mayor Corning, we really I came in at the very end of his administration. I think he may have still been in Albany for a while and was actually in Boston sick for a while, I believe, and then he passed away. With Mayor Whalen, just trying to get together and to know a new mayor, we unfortunately weren't able to get our relocation through during Mayor Whalen's administration. I think it was very important that we really could have used more help at that point, but at the time it just wasn't the right timing. And then now with Mayor Jennings, who has been very open to come down to the mission and talk with us and has been very friendly. And so I think there's been a positive building throughout the year, especially this administration has been trying to really help us. And I thank Mayor Jennings for all that he's doing, and I know that he's got a tough job.
So there is a difference between when a mayor takes over a city.
I think so. I think every mayor has their own personality, and it brings different strengths and weaknesses to bear on different, for a rescue mission, we seek to work well with the city because, we're part of the city. We're not an alien entity. We're here as part of the city and a part of a solution. And when a city official asks me for something, or a policeman, or the chief of police, or a fire, when they want to do something, we have to integrate and cooperate.
Do governors have any impact on you?
Yes.
Wow.
I would have to say, one day, Governor Cuomo was jogging downtown. Him and his son Andrew were jogging, and they, as he did sometimes, he jogged into the mission and said, "What is this place all about? Give me a tour." And so we gave him a tour of the mission. He said he was very interested.
Give him a sandwich?
He wasn't hungry, but he was so interested that for the next 5 years, he literally adopted the mission as a charity. He came down every Thanksgiving with a huge donation of pies and goodwill, and often would say to me, "Perry, you sure I can't give you some money?" And I'd say, "Governor, don't want any state money. The gospel has to go forth unhindered." But I said, "We certainly would love to have your picture." And he would always cooperate with publicity. And he was always a good friend. I would say that probably one of the greatest political friends the mission has ever had is Mario Cuomo.
Funny story about, how when you see someone you haven't seen them in a while and you don't recognize them. Well,
Yeah.
one morning I usually go to 7 o'clock mass at St. Mary's in Albany, and it was kind of dark, and I'm walking across the street, and I'm going, I know that guy. I'm walking into 7 o'clock, and suddenly I realized, my God, that's Governor Cuomo. So he said, "Good morning, Governor." He goes, "Morning." And he walked in, and he used to go to 7 o'clock mass every Sunday at Father Lefevre's St. Mary's.
Oh, yes. He was quite a fellow to blend in. He loved to blend in or jog into a place, or, just take people. One night the desk man, it was 12 o'clock. Somebody was rapping on the window, and he looked, and it was Governor Cuomo. He had just had a party up at the mansion, and the trunk of his car was full of food that was left over. He said, come out here, and help me get this food in here." So, that was Governor Cuomo.
That's a great story. You're right about him blending. I remember he was on national television. It may have been one of the conventions, and here's this great orator, and like 3 days later I see him in the back in the pew at St. Mary's. I'm like, can't believe it's the same guy.
It's a regular person, huh?
Yeah. So the Lord allows that to happen. To me, nothing happens in that way by happenstance. That the Lord directs the steps.
Yes.
And so I was just thinking, well, and we had a chance to try to bless him and encourage him, and I always did everything I could to encourage him. Certainly a rescue mission is not a political entity, so every political thing he did or so forth, we were not endorsing everything. We were just there as a good friend, and he was a good friend of the mission, and he did what he could.
Someone else who does things like that up in Saratoga Springs, and you never hear about it, like Governor Cuomo's Mary Lou Whitney.
Mm.
In fact, she'll go in the kitchen and on Thanksgiving Day and help prepare meals and everything.
Yeah.
It must be a great feeling to say to the governor, "No, we don't need your money. We're dependent on the Lord."
I always said the Lord will provide, but I said, we do need you. I said, "Thank you, sir."
Boy, that's pretty neat, I'm telling you.
Sunday morning news, views, and interviews on WROW. Joe Condon along with Nell Stokes Holmes, and our guest this week is the Reverend Perry Jones, who's the executive director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany. And he's telling us about the mission, but also we're getting some Albany history.
Yeah, we are. We sure are getting some Albany history. And along with that, we didn't talk about the kinds of things that people might be able to donate to the mission if they have a mind to. So why don't you tell us that and give us a phone number and, that kind of thing.
We have need of foodstuffs, especially sugar and drink mixes, spaghetti sauce, any meat products. We also would like any men's clothing at this time, clean men's clothing. We also would like to, if you have any equipment, office equipment, things like that that you're not using and want us to come and get it, we would certainly do that. We're at 462-0459, and you can call us there, and you can, I'll be there most of the week, and my staff would also answer questions.
Do you take things like furniture, appliances?
Not too much right now.
I mean, to give to your clients.
We do some, but we only on a limited basis. We don't have the room to store them. The Salvation Army has a big thrift program up on Clinton Avenue, and they take a lot of things. And also the free furniture program that Ann Riggins runs on Clinton Avenue.
It's A-Toy.
Yeah, they take a bunch, and we refer a bunch of our furniture over to Ann. And so there's a lot of agencies working together.
Very good. And then if you just want to drive down there, like I've done sometime, and knock on the door, people will come out and take whatever you have to offer. It's like, will you take this box of men's clothing out for me? And they will definitely do that.
Yeah, they actually come out and help you and deal with that. And there's many things that we use, and any line of things that you think that we could use at the mission probably can.
And we can always, and I say we, because the mission is very special to me. I don't know why. I just sort of adopted it myself. We can always use donations from people who are interested in giving of their money as well as their time.
Certainly would be glad to do that.
Is there anything at all, Perry, that you would like people to know about the mission that I haven't already asked, or some aspiration that you have for the future?
I think that my aspirations or vision for the mission in the future is that it becomes more of a full-service rescue mission, not only dealing with the homeless men that we've always helped, but women and children, and also the community, because where do you go when you've been either sanctioned by welfare and you don't, the welfare cuts hit you in whatever way, and maybe because you were irresponsible, or maybe because of what hand you have. And the issue is the rescue mission wants to be there to be a source of help for so many people that just are at the end, and also a light for the Lord. But we certainly want to see that acts of mercy are done for him, and these can include a lot of different things. So I'd just like to see a lot more opportunity for people to feel special, to feel loved, to feel. That's why I like to take a person off a mat on the floor and give them a bed, because I want them to have the same experience that I have. If I'm going to go home to a bed and I'm going to help somebody else out, I'm going to try at least to help them out at as best level that I can. And so there's a lot to be done. We've come a long way, but there's so much more to be done.
What, if you had one wish, and that's other than this new building, for the mission, what would it be at this point?
It's a tough question.
Tough question, huh?
Tough question to ask. One wish for the mission. I think more lives affected for the Lord and affected for our community in a positive way. Just a whole band, a whole raft full of people whose lives have been turned and changed, and they're walking new, and they come out and make a difference in the surrounding community. As taxpayers, as blessings to other people. I tell people when they come to the mission, you're not just here. I don't care what condition you're in. You're not here just because you're just here. The Lord has a purpose, and he wants to build into you strength so that then you can go out and be a blessing to other people. Not just to hold it all in, but to go out and then in turn say, hey, I got help, I'm going to help you. I think that's the chain. I guess a major chain of that happening would be a blessing.
Each one helping each other.
Yep.
Good time for a row. One last question.
And the one last question is, how, if a person were in need of assistance and came to the mission, what exactly would they have to do in order for you to help them quickly?
Most of the time, if you just come to the mission, say if you're in need of a place to say, just come, or call ahead, or just come if that's all you can do is just come. And you'll be just very quickly given an opportunity to stay there. Very seldom do we have to turn people away. There's usually some place for people to be. If you need clothing or if you need food, items like that, just come and we'll try to provide you with that. If you can call ahead, that's great. If you can't call ahead, then we're still going to help you when you get there. And basically, there are no people who are, hopefully beyond what we can give. If we have it, we're going to give it.
Very good. We thank you so much for sharing this time with us. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much for having me here.
And if anyone's interested in helping out the Capital City Rescue Mission, they can stop by 50 Hudson Avenue, or they can call 462-0459. In closing, as usual, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. Good day.
You've been listening to News, Views, and Interviews on WROW. Our guest this week, the Reverend Perry Jones, Executive Director of the Capital City Rescue Mission, 50 Hudson Avenue in Albany. Nell Stokes Holmes and Joe Condon will be back next week. This program pre-recorded.